Due to that, obviously I'm gonna be playing rank. What else do I do? Oh, for free, I gotta go to Miss too. Oh my god, I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm scared I'll drop.
He's moving. I'm so glad I didn't pick this box. I have no idea how to cook that thing. That's all you.
Well, this is like a full-on lively. Clearly, the main ingredient in my box is this king crab. Manny, we're in for a challenge.
We are.
So there you have it. Today we'll have an intense showdown between me and Manny with surf versus turf. To begin, I had to square up against Manny, and things got a little bit heated.
Hey, guys.
Let's get our 60-minute timer started, and our time...
I forgot to the
The thing I'm
skin.
gonna do is I'm gonna open this up. I'm not gonna cook this entire thing. That wouldn't make sense, obviously.
Just cut into the meat like immediately. What are you doing?
Alright, I'm gonna cut a nice piece of this. This little piece of flaming yarn. I'm gonna use this red wine here and make a red wine reduction. A little bit of garlic. Then I'm gonna take these potatoes and make a little potato
This might
puree
be
and
good
put that under the steak.
if
And
they
then
give
finish
me
it obviously with some Osmo garlic salt. That's the plan. I hope it works out.
Today I'll be making king crab raviolo. King crab leg right next to it. I've never used a duck egg before for a pasta, but we're gonna find out how it is. I always feel so bad for king crabs, but I'm sorry, Mr. Krabs.
I'm just kind of prepping the meat here before I get into it. There's a lot of silver stuff you can see like right here. And I'm just gonna trim this as much as I can.
It looks like you killed someone. Manny, it seems kind of unfair that I have a king crab and Manny just has to sear off one piece of beef.
I'm gonna cut in. I'm gonna get my I just want to make sure that it's good as I can get it.
I picked a really good section of it. There's not too much fat. You took off all the silver skin. He gashed the whole center of it. Ruined the fillet immediately.
Whoa, Manny.
So at this point, I'm going to be taking off all of my crab's legs. There's going to be water and juice everywhere. At a full 8 pounds, hence why this costs $800, this crab is way too big to fit into a pot. Alright, Manny, I've already broken down my king crab. I'm moving kind of quick, Manny. We only have 45 minutes left, so you might want to be quick. I've got my boiling water. Time to cook that king crab. I'm going to steam these legs. Beautiful.
Alright, so I'm thinking about actually cutting this piece off. I'm not going to have as big a piece, but I think this would be a more perfect piece. It's going to be frowned upon in the Wagyu community or Nick, but I'm just... Alright, now I'm going to cut through. I think my perfect piece is going to be right here. There we go. Now this is going to be our nice filet mignon steak.
No, it's not. Please tell me a joke. Please tell me you're messing with me or no.
No,
This is the steak that you just cut out of this?
Yeah.
Do you know how tall a filet mignon is? This is probably 1 ounce. What are you doing? You need a big, tall piece. What are you doing?
Sorry, chef.
You should have let him use that. It's ridiculous. My crab is going in. I need to start working on my pasta or I am not going to make the cut. We're less than 40 minutes left here, so I really have to move quick. This is going to take a while to cook as well, so I'm feeling kind of stressed right now.
Alright, we're going for a second try here. This wasn't good enough, so I'm gonna go for this entire chunk right here. I kind of cleaned it off. Think it's good enough, so I'm gonna go in. Look at our new piece. Pretty substantially bigger than the first one. Now I'm gonna move on to the red wine sauce. I'm gonna come back and cook this later.
So I don't want to hurt Manny's feelings, but look what he's doing here. He has first made one that's way too short. Now he's made one that's far too tall. I'd cut off probably about this amount off of there and have a really, really nice steak. But I'm gonna let him do his thing. This is his dish. So the king crab has this crazy amount of liquid. But I have to start working on my pasta or I'm gonna run out of time.
Alright, so I'm gonna get started on the red wine reduction sauce. So I found some extra stuff in the fridge. I found some shallots, some butter, and some rosemary. I'm gonna start by cutting up some shallots kind of finely.
Manny, this is the last hint I can give you today. You need to deglaze your
I
pan with the red wine.
realize I
That's
already
all I'm gonna
got
say.
And when I deglaze, I'm gonna do that after I toss you some butter.
I'm getting to work on my pasta to keep things fair. I'm not
I mean,
gonna
at
measure
least
out
get some
anything.
sort.
I mean, I typically don't anyways, but I want to level the playing field here a little bit. So I'm going to go in with some flour. I'm going to dump this onto the center of my cutting board, make my nice little well in the middle, and then into that well, I'll crack a few of my nice ducklings. I've got a couple cuts from the king crab, but I made it out alive.
I'm gonna heat this up a little bit. This one like a low medium heat. I'm gonna add a little bit of this oil in it.
Stop.
What in the
Stop targeting us.
are you doing?
Now I'm just gonna get a knob of this butter off. Don't need this much. Don't need a ton. I'm gonna let this melt in the pan a little bit before I toss my shallots in. And I'm gonna turn the heat down a little bit. I don't want to brown the butter, but actually it might be kind of nice. Now
We're literally getting
You
targeted.
clearly have not paid any attention. All the many times that we've made steak, he could not be doing things more backwards. My pasta dough's coming together. I think the duck yolk pasta dough might actually work out. I really do. Alright, my pasta dough is finished. I'm gonna go ahead and rest this in the fridge about 15 minutes. And in the meantime, my king crab is complete. I don't want to overcook it because I'm gonna continue cooking it when I make the pasta, and we want it to be perfect.
I'm gonna add the red wine to the glaze, and then I'm gonna let it reduce into like a nice thick red wine sauce that I'm gonna use later.
What are you doing?
So we haven't been able to find a wine opener, so forcing me to try other methods to try to get this open. I might honestly just have to push the cork in. Alright, this seems to be working. It's not the ideal method, but we're gonna go with it.
I want everyone to take a quick look at the stations here. I have my neatly wrapped pasta dough, my king crab is cooked, then look what's happening over here.
So I haven't even really started my sauce yet because I've been trying to find a wine opener for like 20 minutes.
And we only have about 25-30 minutes left.
I'm gonna keep this up, I'm gonna kind of get this the temperature again, and then I'm gonna flambe the sauce with the red wine.
Flambe? Give me some. Let's go.
It's kind of bubbling. Cooked a little bit more than I would like to, but we're just gonna kind of go with it. It's not hot enough, I don't think, for flambe yet.
Dude. Oh my god, I need balloons. Or else that means I've already lost my first round.
Alright, now I'm just gonna let this reduce.
Alright, so I'm gonna chop a few chives up. This was actually something that I learned in my first restaurant job. You have to be nice and quick with them. And these don't have to be too fine, so I'm kind of whipping right through it here just because I'm gonna put these into the overall mix of the king crab. I'm almost going for a crab rangoon type raviolo. So into my bowl of cream cheese, and then I'm gonna have that nice duck egg in the middle, just the yolk, and it's gonna pop open and spill across the plate as a sauce as you cut into the raviolo.
Alright, Nate's kind of been roasting me about how messy my cooking station is, so I'm gonna take the pieces of meat that I'm not using, toss them behind me, clean this up a little bit, and then I'm gonna get started with the potatoes.
So I am beginning to cut into my beautiful king crab leg. Key here with king crab is trying to really carefully open it up and keep it nice and clean. It's a really kind of delicate art. Many should feel lucky to even get the king crab because to break open and cook a king crab with fresh pasta and all that kind of stuff within an hour is no easy feat. So as you can see, that came out nice and clean. And I actually want to lay a full king crab leg on my final dish right next to the egg yolk raviolo.
Alright, now that I've kind of cleaned off my cooking station here, I'm going to take both of my potatoes raw with the skins on and toss them in the boiling water behind me. Here we go, there's one potato. These two. Alright, I've cooked potatoes before, but honestly, I don't remember how long I'm supposed to cook them, so don't tell me. I'm going to Google it.
So I'll chop this up nice and fine, just into small little pieces where you can still get that nice texture from the crab, but where it's not going to kind of overpower the raviolo and be too much. I'll toss that in my bowl here. Perfect. It's okay if I bring a little crab juice with me. That's what I want here.
Alright, so I've had this on a very, very low simmer because I don't want to burn this. The sauce is really starting to thicken. It's a lot thicker than when we started. I'm going to keep on going so it's a little bit thicker, and then I'm going to purify it with this chimon right here. Here. Now I'm going to use this spatula and just kind of press it through here.
I didn't even realize that I was watching the video the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh crap, I tried to suffocate him.
New shoes. New shoes.
Nope, I need balloons anyways. Bye. Bye,
No
Felicia.
one does tamales like Texas. Now you can bring a tradition that goes back generations to your door. Rich, perfectly spiced.
I have to say, it makes me proud to cook with man. After all the things that I've tried to teach him, I hope he's at least soaked a few things up, but so far, honestly, I don't. I mean, this reduction smells and looks okay, but if you move it around, you can see it's not properly emulsified. It would be what we call a broken sauce.
Because it's broken. Still a sauce.
So we currently have 23 minutes left on the clock. I'm gonna add just a few seasonings into this, but I want to keep it nice and simple. All these flavors should speak for themselves. I want to let the king crab do the talking.
It's not fair, he was lagging. He wasn't taking enough
I'm
back.
gonna keep the seasoning
He
simple.
hit
I'm
and
using
cheated
freshly
back.
ground black pepper, some flaky
So it's
white
basically
salt,
not
roasted
fair,
garlic,
dude.
osmo salt as well. Then I'm gonna take
Oh,
some
I'm dropping so much. It's not fair, dude.
I like that. So I'm gonna roll this up and pick up the rest of the salt on the board, and then I'm gonna go in with some pepper.
You need about 5 times more seasoning on the piece of meat there. All right, so my pasta dough is done. I'm gonna go ahead and begin rolling it out. But here's the thing, I want to keep this competition fair, so I'm gonna be using a rolling pin to
Separated. Since we waited so long, too, I also burned the shallots. Everything about this sauce. So I'm gonna redo this. Hopefully the second time's better. That's not hard to do.
It is extremely hard to roll out fresh pasta. It has to be nice and clear and thin through the center, and I'm doing this all by hand. So I'm going to take my ring mold and cut out a nice ring of my pasta dough.
Kit is
Two of
better.
these to make
I think.
raviolo. So for my raviolo, I'm going to go on with a nice...
Yeah, I think Avery is better.
delicious filling that
I'm
I
not
make.
sure.
Put that right in the middle. Then using a duck egg, I'll make a nice little well in the center. And then I'll go right in with my duck egg to the center. Paint all the edges of my raviolo, just so that I can seal it all up. And then on goes my lid. Manny, we only have 15 minutes left.
The potatoes should be done in theory. I hope not. There you go. Here's one potato. Looks good. I think it's okay. There's my timer. Did it for 25 minutes. It wasn't steaming correctly for like a good 18 minutes of that. So I don't know if it's gonna be okay. All right, now we're gonna see if this actually cooked all the way through. After 25 minutes. I'm gonna get another potato. All right, so this has been I don't know, in here for another 2 minutes longer than the other one. So maybe we'll have a little bit better luck. Oh, oh, this is a little bit softer. We'll take off the parts of the potato that are cooked here because I don't have a lot of time left, and we'll leave the inner part of the potato that's not cooked side of this.
You guys got 13 minutes left. How you feeling with only 13 minutes left? I'm making extra ones. I'm literally having so much fun over here. This to me is one of the most exciting videos we've ever done.
All right, I just added some butter in here. Melt because it's still really hot. All right, my new stick of butter. Try number 2. Hopefully I don't stick it up this time. A little bit of oil in. The butter doesn't burn. Shots in here. I'm not gonna bomb bait this time. Just don't have time for that. I'm gonna try to get the sauce right. Okay, now I'm gonna have the red wine in.
Well, yeah,
There we go.
so
Go this way. I'm just hoping I can get it to emulsify correctly.
It's finally time to start cooking
Just in
my
case.
raviolas. I'm gonna go in with some of that crabby water. I'm not using any of this flavor with my dish. That is what the pasta's gonna cook in.
I'm trying to pour this sauce in this bowl. Trying not to spill because I've been spilling all day long. All right, before I cook the steak, I'm gonna get a couple things that I'm gonna use to baste the steak. I have some garlic here,
first I
rosemary,
thought you had
steak,
iron
all
armor.
seasoned. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna
I was
add
about
some
to
oil
say,
and
like,
add,
how do you have
half an
iron
inch
armor
in there.
already?
And wait till it's really hot. Let Nick's hot. No, not half an inch. More like 2 centimeters.
We only have 6 minutes.
Oh my!
Has not even started a steak. I can tell you right now, I'm going to have to give Manny extra time.
All right, I think the oil is hot enough. I really want this to be really hot to get a nice sear on both sides. So wish me luck. Here we go.
Actually, really proud of you, man. That was good. Now let's see if you pay attention.
So I'm just gonna let this sit for 2 minutes on each side and let it cook all the way through. I'm just honestly worried about either cooking it too much or not cooking it enough. As you can see, that's a really nice
If I'm about
crust.
to let some go faster build up and slash
One of the
video.
steps you missed, you didn't push the steak down.
I've already lost my RP point to silver 1. Oh my god.
He didn't pay attention.
Maybe I can get that right on this side. So I'm gonna start pushing it down now.
For the record, what you're looking at there is probably a $50 to $75 filet mignon. So if Manny messes that up, that's just throwing money right out the window.
All right, let's check out this other side.
Oh, the stupid bit!
Here. It's fantastic. I'm gonna flip it over and try to improve
I
this
swear if
side
I
a little bit.
dropped.
Anything? I'm still waiting. We are past the time of the hour block. We have 3 judges that are coming.
Why?
My dish and have my egg
Why do I
raviolo
keep
not
getting
work, so I have to
absolute
wait.
poor
That would've been about
teammates?
15-20 minutes ago. Look at this. He started cooking his steak.
Please love you playing me, dude. I don't want useless bitches as my teammates.
What is this?
I'm not using it.
Wasting the most expensive part.
As you remember, the first time we did this, the other side was bad. I think this is a much better improvement. Look at that. That's a crispy steak.
So that is now what a lot of people would call burnt. All I know is this. If the judges cut Manny's steak open,
This is basically
it's not
just me
perfect
AFK and
doneness
dying.
level, that's it for Manny. What are you doing? You're gonna melt it. Too much. The trash is smoking, man.
Now I'm gonna baste the steak. I'm gonna add some butter in, some garlic, add some thyme. All that. It smells really good. All right, now I'm just gonna continue to baste this.
Check out this verbo.
Michael, they're your cousins.
Look at me.
Alright, to finish off my dish, I'm gonna go in with my egg yolk raviolos, which have to be cooked perfectly for this to work. These are some of the hardest things
I don't
to
care
make
if
in
I'm
cooking.
lying.
I'll put my plate right in the center, and I'm gonna keep this simple. In the back, I have some brown butter going. This is perfect brown butter, which is gonna help to finish off my raviolo. If these are not cooked perfectly, my dish will have no sauce and be a complete failure. And I can't lose to Manny today. Once my brown butter is hot, I'm gonna take that raviolo, place it right into that brown butter, and let it fizz. Give that thing a whole bath of brown butter. And after this, we sit it down for a second to rest. Manny, the judges are waiting outside. We have to finish our dishes right now. We have to clean off our workstations because they have no idea who made what dish, except for Marwa, who set up the mystery boxes. And then it'll be time to taste. Manny, officially, I'm giving us 3 minutes each to finish everything.
I have 15 seconds left.
Looks like an ice cream. And with that, our dishes are complete. And they both look pretty damn good. Manny, I'm really proud of you for the look of the steak right now.
Thanks.
I'm really
Perfect. Time to bring the judges.
So here we have our three judges. Right here on this side, we have a filet mignon with mashed potatoes and a red wine reduction. And over here, we have a king crab egg yolk raviolo with a piece of king crab leg right next to it. At this time, Manny and I are going to walk out, let the judges discuss, and we'll come back to find out who's the winner.
All right, what are we doing first?
We're gonna go for this one, I think. We're gonna see if the mango flows.
Woo! It's a pretty decent flow. All right, time for the steak.
Moment of truth. Super easy to cut through.
Woo! That is looking good.
Now we have to see if it tastes good.
Gotta find the well-rounded bite here. That was really good. The yolk, that is so creamy.
The crab's like super fresh.
It's so tender. And the crust, he gets like a nice thick crust. You can tell from the side. It's like almost crispy. That's music to my ear.
That is really good.
The way though, you'll notice the crust, they didn't sear the edges. Cheers. Cheers. Okay. Yeah.
It's gonna be tough.
That's so well seasoned. Wow, it melts in your mouth. Definitely the steak's the standout. Mashed potatoes, definitely like kind of like a heartier mashed potatoes.
The mashed potatoes don't do it for me. No, I don't really like them at all.
This mashed potatoes for like 5 people right now. The raviolis together, I feel like it was much more of a dish. But man, that like filet really stood out just on its own. Should you get final votes?
Yeah.
You ready? I'm ready. 1, 2, 3.
Anyone can.
You ready? Both. You ready? I'm ready. 1, 2, 3.
Anyone can.
That doesn't mean that you're It's okay. It's fine.
I was extremely proud of how Manny did today, and frankly, I actually thought I lost. Who voted for my dish?
I thought this was anonymous.
You too. Benji, why did you like Manny's steak better? I'm actually curious because it looked fantastic.
I got you. That steak was just unbelievable.
So it sounds like, in addition to this dish here being really a strong dish, the mashed potatoes put Manny on. As a punishment, Manny has to clean all the dishes. But Manny, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Nick.
Tell us all below if you liked having Manny cooking today instead of filming. Manny was far better at cooking than I thought he would be, given that he never cooked, and he had me nervous at the end. One last time, make sure to subscribe so we can catch up to Gordon. Smack a like on the video, if not for me, for Manny's cooking today, and happy cooking.
If you want to eat healthy and feel your best, you gotta try
Give me fun.
Kachava is the world.
Only eat Gordon Ramsay's food for an entire day? Strange request, but I'm down. Let's do it. But first, if you didn't know, we're gaining on Gordon. So if you're watching right now and not a subscriber, go hit that button below. Now, there are a few options for the task at hand today. The first is, I somehow convinced Gordon to be my private chef for the day. Considering he's probably the most famous chef in the world, that's not gonna happen. But it turns out he has quite a few restaurants in Las Vegas. Hell's Kitchen, ever heard of it? But I have one problem. My cameraman Manny isn't allowed in Vegas after being caught counting cards on multiple occasions. Hopefully that won't be an issue, because we're going anyways. We've arrived at Caesar's Palace, but Manny and I want to do a grand entrance. Have a night.
Also have a question. Is this the real Caesar's Palace?
What do you mean?
Is Caesar here right now?
No.
This is where we're going to be spending the night. We're greeted by this crazy little room at the entrance, which kind of has a cool echo. And as we walk back, this is all given. I mean, this place is just insane. What the f are you doing? Wait a second. I don't know what the f just happened. It's time for bed. We'll see you in the morning for a lot of food. Okay, look at this spot. I'm trying to press. Dangerous. Hey, Caesar. Caesar's house. So first restaurant we're hitting for breakfast is Gordon Ramsay Burger. Zane here. I guess we could call you our handler for the day, because Manny's been acting up. It became quickly clear to me that Gordon Ramsay Burger just basically had a bunch of fancy hamburgers. And I'm definitely not complaining. They also let me work the grill in the back for a little bit. If this was secretly a test by Gordon, I'm pretty sure I nailed it. So we are here at breakfast. I guess you could kind of call it a lunch, and it's about 10:30 in the morning. And we are going to be eating the entire day. First up, we have this scrambled sandwich, which basically...
Let me out! It's not fair!
nestled in some buttery brioche bun. Manny, that is really good. Over here we have these bacon bit tater tots. Yummy. And then something that I am very excited for personally is sticky toffee pudding French toast, which I'm gonna dip in gold sauce. Oh man, that is good. Take a bite of that. Oh. Now we have our breakfast drink because of course we're gonna have a lot of cocktails today. And this is called the Oh Bloody Hell.
Bloody hell.
Manny, I think we might see Tipsy Nick tonight. After trying everything, it was time to let Manny have at it. I told him to pace himself for the day, but he didn't really listen.
We're gonna have to roll Manny out in a wheelchair.
Can't drive there. The wedding starts in 3.5 hours.
So that was a fantastic breakfast. My favorite was easily the scrambled sandwich. Gordon is known for his scrambled eggs. Next up, we have Gordon Ramsay fish and chips early lunch. Gordon Ramsay fish and chips is clearly one of those spots that Gordon brought back from home. And I think it's awesome that he brought a restaurant like this to the U.S.
What the are you doing? It's good.
So first up, we have this lobster fish and chips, and I will say it smells fantastic. I'm gonna give it a nice squeeze of lemon, then dip it into both sauce and crunch. Next up, we have our classic fish and chips
Is there any
with
bit
this
left?
curried sauce. This sauce right here is basically a really good curried mayonnaise, and my guess is that it's something classic for fish and chips in the UK, and I love it. It's something I've never had before, but it's delicious. The last
Oh
part
my
here is
God.
a Biscoff
I probably
milkshake.
almost
Everyone
forgot.
knows those cookies they give you on planes, and I'm gonna dive in. That's really good. Easily my favorite thing there was that curried sauce. Benji, can you check on the screen if that's traditional? Because I'm super curious. But next, where are we going? Forget. We're going to Gordon Ramsay Pub. What is that?
Nick, like me and you.
So before we head to the next restaurant, we have a little surprise. The roof scene from The Hangover. Manny and I are going to recreate it. Wow, right out here.
Here's where found us.
Hey guys, it's over here!
It's hot up here.
Oh my goodness! Nick, I used to be a Wolfpacker 1, but now I'm a Wolfpacker 2.
Next we pulled up to Gordon Ramsay Pub. I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of beer because for some reason it really hurts my stomach. Nerd. But I've never been opposed to good old bar food. And that's exactly what Gordon Ramsay Pub seems to be. Here we naturally had to get some traditional pub food. First off, I'm going to dive into the short rib grilled cheese, which I have to say it looks delicious. I may dip it in just a little bit of mustard, and then next up, these are called the Hellfire Wings. Now, just by the name, that sounds pretty spicy. And we all know my heat tolerance is not very good. Drums are still better than wings. Yummy. That's basically barbecue sauce with maybe a little bit of hot sauce in there. You would all be very proud of me to know that my heat tolerance has gone up. I can handle this. Last but not least, quite creative, we have kettle chip nachos. I'm having a lot of cheese today. Man, I'm gonna need that lactose milk. The thing about bar food is you usually think of like pizza or nachos, but they make really creative takes on all that stuff. This is French onion soup made with ale. Pretty clever. We're gonna get as many sticky toffee things as we can today. So here comes our first bite. The best way I can describe this if you've never had it before is basically a really soft, fluffy, caramel flavored brownie with vanilla ice cream and hot caramel. Delicious. We are now here in front of probably the most famous restaurant in Gordon Ramsay's entire empire, Hell's Kitchen, and I am very excited to see what's behind those doors. Let's go. Of all of Gordon Ramsay's restaurants throughout the world, Hell's Kitchen has to be the most famous by far. I mean, who doesn't know Hell's Kitchen? This place is crazy. We are in Hell's Kitchen, and naturally, lots of amazing TV moments have happened here. Let's watch a couple.
Let's go step outside, I'm not a quitter.
You're not f***ing cooking either. Where's the lamb sauce? We f***ing wasted the most expensive part. Run the show here with answered scallops. If you saute scallops in a non-stick pan, they won't stick. That's why it's called f***ing non-stick. And lobster risotto are the signature appetizers. Some of my other favorites though. The crispy skin salmon, which has been on every season of the show as well. Bro, get it together. Yes, sir.
What?
I really love all the details here, even down to the little things on top of the drinks. They have the whole thing nailed down here.
Hello, welcome to Hell's Kitchen, Las Vegas. My name is Manny.
Hold on, wait a second. I'm in.
You're Manny, I'm Manny.
I'm in.
Too many Mannys in this place,
Too
alright?
many Manny's. I need to get out of here. So first things first, we're gonna have some lobster risotto. The lobster is super tender, and the risotto is just ultra creamy. Delicious. Next, they have foie gras, which is a duck lip. I've never seen a macaron on something like this. I love foie gras, and this right here is the perfect bite. First things first, we need to make sure the crispy skinned salmon has actual crispy skin. In fact, I remember lots of crispy skinned salmon for Gordon at a NASCAR speedway, and he was pretty harsh on me for that.
Okay, dude, no one care about your stupid ad.
Last but not least, we have to make the perfect bite for these scallops. Oh, I f***ed it up. I f***ed the whole thing up.
Get the fuck out.
One big bite.
Wow.
Here, guys, have our sticky toffee pudding here. Have our triple weight coconut sorbet here with passion fruit, puree, coconut cream.
The coconut ice cream looks awesome. It also looks like it's in a fresh cracked coconut.
Literally, like
And you guys know how much I love edible flour.
Oh my god.
This is our second sticky toffee pudding of the day. Let's see how it compares.
Teammate.
Totally honest, the sticky toffee pudding in the other place was a little bit hotter and a little bit fluffier, but it's still delicious. We have finished up our meal at Hell's Kitchen, and it was fantastic.
What is the message for you?
Lobster is the coast of Maine, the lobster capital of the world. If you didn't know, we're trying to catch up to Gordon, so listen to this lobster and go smack that subscribe button. We'll see you on the docks.
Found it. How you doing? Nice to meet you. Very nice to meet you too. Manny. How you doing, Manny?
So what's a typical day on the water? How long are you out there?
So we usually leave around 4:30 in the morning, haul till about 2:30 in the afternoon, get back around 3, unload our lobsters, and call it a day.
What is the significance of the boat name?
It is superstitious never to change the name of a boat. It's bad juju. I changed the name of a boat one time and within a week I flipped it over and almost died. This was always my dream boat growing up, this style hull. I went up to look at it, looked beautiful, and then I saw the name and I kind of thought, oh no, I'm not sure if I can pull that off. But over time it's grown on me. I'm never changing the name of a boat ever again.
As Kurt readied our ship for the seas, he had some second thoughts.
See you guys later. Have fun.
But fortunately, he pulled through. Before getting started with the lobstering, I had to put on the appropriate gear.
What there? Get mad at Manny, you got that?
Now that I was all geared up, we were ready to start heading out to sea to find our first lobster trap.
Here we go. First trap, coming up. Buoy colors in my parents' garage, so that's the science that goes into choosing buoy colors. We are in 32 feet of water.
So this machine pulls it right up for you.
Yeah, goes up and over the block into the hauler, and then hauler does all the work.
A little different from my joke of a summer lobster operation, how many? So this right here is our first lobster trap. And I swear, these are actually ours. We're not just pulling up random people's traps right now.
When we were kids, we would haul traps by hand, like this, and just the thought of having to do that now would probably be enough to keep me in bed in the morning. What do we got?
Whoa, a couple lobsters. Were you baited up with fish heads? Is that what that is?
So those are redfish heads right there. Here we have a lobster, 2 claws. We always have to check whether it's a male or a female. Manny, any guesses what this one is here?
female.
Close, it's the other one, 50-50 chance. So this is a male, so we don't have to worry about eggs. If it's an egg lobster, we have to throw it back. But before we throw an egg lobster back, we have to put a V-knot in that tail flipper right there, and that signifies that she's a proven breeder, so that even if she's caught again without eggs, she goes back into the water. It's one of the ways we protect our resource. So this is a male, which means we get to measure it. So we have both a minimum size, which is 3 1/4 inches carapace length. The carapace is the shell of the lobster before the tail. And then we also have a maximum size here in Maine. Too big, it's going back. Same reason, those are the breeders. You measure from the back of the eye socket, and if that touches the shell of the lobster, it's a keeper. So this one right here is a keeper.
So we got one.
So we got one lobster. We can check that off the list. We're not going to go hungry later on. That was my biggest concern today. First thing we do, put Maine wedding bands on it.
That's so that it doesn't kill all their lobsters.
So when lobsters are in the close confines of a tank like the one on my boat, they tend not to get along very well. So we put those bands on right away.
And you always hold them like this so that their arms are crossed?
That's an easy way to ensure that they can't kind of reach around because they're pretty flexible. And if a lobster like this gets a hold of you, you'll definitely know it. There are 2 different types of claws, like the crusher claw, and that's more for crushing shells, so that would break a bone. And then this ripper claw here is more for shredding stuff apart, so that would probably cut your finger pretty good. Manny, what's this one?
Female.
Very good, nailed it. So this is a female here. She doesn't have any eggs on the underside of her tail, but she does have that notch, and now she's illegal to keep. So she has to go back into the water.
Yeah, let it free.
Toss her back. We didn't catch any lobsters.
Tier 1 anyways.
Right here. So before we push the trap over, whenever we're on the boat and I have to put you on there, I always tell them, rule number 1, know where your feet are relative to the rope. Because nothing will pull you overboard faster than that rope.
After pushing the trap back into the sea and managing not to go overboard, we headed off to our second trap. We even put Manny to work this time. All right, Manny, I see it up there. Don't miss it. Manny, don't miss it. Don't, Manny.
Miss it.
Don't miss it, Manny.
Right there.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's impressive right there.
Here we go. Grab number 2. Oh, we got a few more. floor. Quick question for you. I've heard that lobstermen can be quite territorial. So what happens if someone messes with your traps? Because that happens, right?
It happens. It doesn't happen too often, but when it does happen, it's kind of a big deal, and it needs to be dealt with. There are subtle and not so subtle ways of letting people know that they're bad apples, and typically those bad apples don't last very long in the fish or in general.
This one's too
What?
small. We're letting her go.
We'll let him go.
Letting him go.
It's easier to fry.
Oh, wow. Hey, you see that?
Saw it.
First trap, up and over, under here, around this, and then it goes.
Look
Nice,
at
toss this
that.
up.
Smooth as silk.
That lobster took quite the wild ride. He's a big one though, or she.
Last chance here, Manny.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
So can I take this guy and then for the band? So I'm grabbing this, sticking it into the bucket of bands.
Around the clock. That's why I wear sunglasses.
Does that happen a lot?
Yeah.
I should be grabbing him more like you with both paws, but I can really just go like this, right on. You almost got me, man. This is proving to be way more difficult.
He's fighting you.
He's gonna band you for then a twist. Nailed it. That's it.
He's done. I got him. There's the second one. Little twist.
Like a pro.
This guy's done, huh? There we go, Manny. High five.
Let's go. Okay, Clara. I'm gonna circle back around in there when I tell you to, okay? You give it a big punch. 1, 2, 3, go! Nice job, Clara. Give Nick a high five. Yeah.
Having caught all the lobsters we needed to get cooking, it was time to go back, and our high seas adventure had sadly come to an end.
And home. Made it, Manny.
Been a good run in my lobstering gear, but it's time to take off.
What are you doing?
Manny, come on. You know my feet got wet. Manny, just... After getting dry, Kurt offered to give us a tour of the facilities that process the lobsters after they're caught. This is where they put all those lobsters to wait and stay alive before they're sent everywhere.
Essentially, we got 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools full of chilled seawater.
So these are all filled with lobsters that they bring in right off the water. The water is crisp.
Yeah, nice and chilly. So before you ship a lobster, you have to hold them in cold water.
To bring their metabolism down before shipping.
You gotta do it. If you want to ship a lobster to Paris, Madrid, Rome, Shanghai, Guangzhou, gotta bring their body temperature down before they hop on that plane.
So they're shipping lobster around the whole world. That's why Maine is known as the lobster capital of the world.
People don't come to Maine to eat chicken, that's for sure. This is one of the ones we caught. Got a super hard shell. It hasn't molted in a very long time. You can't even get any movement on the shell there. These ones are a little softer shell, so as you feel that, see there's a little give there. It's gonna be a lot easier to crack these ones than these ones.
So we're gonna take some of these lobsters that we caught, go to the processing facility and show you how to break them down. Most people have no idea how to actually eat a whole lobster out of its shell. We need to show them how it's done. Alright, so we're in the car. We're just a few minutes away from the dock we just left from, and we're at the lobster processing facility now. This place is huge. And in here, we'll break down a few lobster and see how it's done. So now that we're back at the processing facility in the kitchen, I'm willing to bet that most of you watching have pretty much no idea how to break down a whole lobster and actually get all the meat out. As the resident lobster expert, take us through how we do that.
Got some water heating up. We're almost to a boil. Once that gets there, we'll steam them.
A lot of chefs will shove something in the tail so it stays straight instead of curling up while cooking.
All we're doing here is inserting this wooden skewer right in the tail. We got boiling water, so we want to throw 2 in there so we have a backup. Before we throw them in the pot, we always take the bands off. 1 in, don't get bit in the pot. So we got 2 pound and a half, pound and
No,
3/4
imagine
lobsters
dying
in the
to
pot
me.
right now. I give those usually about 12 to 14 minutes once the water comes back to a rolling boil. These guys are hard shell, so we'll go a little closer to 14 minutes. Sound like a plan? Do it.
While we wait for the lobster to cook, apparently, I've never had this before, by the way. If you just fry lobster, it's delicious. Is that right?
Everything fries delicious. What we have here is a unique opportunity for lobster. This is called our cold cracked raw lobster meat. It's 100% raw lobster meat.
It's really hard to get lobster meat out raw. I mean, look at the color on there. If you see a chef in any restaurant, they'll do something called parboiling, which is almost like blanching. Hi, Manny, what's blanching? You're fired.
Meet Sous Vide, the magical all-in-one countertop kitchen robot.
Gracefully.
Sous Vide saves you time and lets you cook delicious meals for you or your whole family. The best part? It takes up less space than your microwave. Planning ahead? Simply load your ingredients,
That was Amy.
schedule
Amy's
dinner,
annoying.
and Sous Vide does the rest. With its revolutionary cool-to-cook technology, your ingredients stay refrigerated until it's time to start cooking. Sous Vide's multiple zones ensure that everything is ready at precisely the same time. In a hurry? With Rapid Cook Mode, you can go from fully frozen ingredients to a perfectly cooked dinner in less than 25 minutes. Whether you want to bake a
What
cake,
the fudge?
You're basically just cooking it for a short period of time to tighten the meat up and actually be able to take it out of the shell. So how was Kurt able to get us this unusual raw lobster meat? The processing plant has a crazy machine called the high pressure processor. This machine basically forces over 80,000
I'm so
psi
mad
water
right now.
pressure through these lobsters, separating the meat from the
Emerald.
shells raw.
I mean,
All we do, take our raw lobster, a little bit of egg wash, take it out of the egg wash, and dredge it, some breading. Really, really simple. Really standard stuff, but because very few people can produce lobster raw, you never see fried lobster. All right?
Just right in. I was always taught, give it a little sway, you know?
I was never taught anything. We figured this out just by trial and error. I like the sway though. I'm gonna go with it.
That smells really good.
Oh, just wait. Here we go. Here we go.
Wow.
Fried lobster.
I've been around a lot of lobster and I've never seen lobster like this.
Very few people have had the opportunity to try this.
You made a little sauce?
We've got a little bang bang sauce right here. Before we try it in the bang bang sauce, we're both gonna try one without it just to get the overall flavor of it. The moisture content in there, and just the overall tenderness, I feel like it's better than steamed lobster.
May, you want some?
Yeah.
Open up.
Oh, hot.
Yes, a horrible heat tolerance.
You want to try another one that doesn't burn your mouth?
Go ahead, man.
Holy that's good.
Alright, so our lobsters here should be all set. That was a perfect little treat on the side. Teach me your ways here.
The way I learned if a lobster is done is if you grab the antenna just like this and give it a yank. If it breaks easily like that, lobster's good to go.
I never knew that. Did you know that?
Yo,
Let's
please
take
stop
these bad
camping
boys
in
out.
your
This
gym.
guy is hot as can be.
First things
Not
first,
nice.
let's start with the tail. So what I like to do is take the tail, separate it from the body, just like that. Remove the wood
Yep,
skewer
keep those
or not. It's up to you. The way I break down a tail is I grab it at the second segment right there, snap it. There you have that. Split it like that.
So you're just kind
Dang
of
it.
cracking down the whole tail and splitting it through. So I
And that sounds
always
really
have been,
annoying.
for some reason, taught to do the tail in a different way.
Let's see it.
Just stick a fork kind of upside down into the tail, wedge it in there, and then pop it right out like that where it kind of curls out in a really neat way.
I've never seen that way before. I've never stuck a fork in it before. Honest to God. I've only broken a tail down one way.
Isn't that cool?
Beautiful.
It's the same thing. And frankly, your tail
Yes.
is a lot prettier than mine.
Tail is all in the eye of the beholder. Yeah. And these are my favorite little morsels of lobster right here.
And this is
Tell me
one of the
they
ones that I say everybody misses.
Look at that tail clipper right there. Look at that chunk of meat.
Squeeze it right out.
Beautiful chunk of meat.
So there are 4 or 5 of those pieces there that you can take the meat out. And you're just basically cracking it off the end. And then you have that little piece there. And you're just sort of squeezing and pulling that right out of there.
Pitch it right out.
And there you go, now you know. So you can already see the lobster starting to come together here. I'm wondering now if we do the claws in a different way.
Let's find out.
I'm gonna go ahead with the big crusher claw. Show me first, how do you break down the claw?
I start by breaking kind of the knuckle and the arm away from the claw. This right here. You have to do it right. That meat will come out. If you don't, you gotta use a picker for it. I start with a cracker, and this is a really hard shell lobster. So if it doesn't break with the cracker, then I will move to the butcher knife. And if it doesn't work with that, we'll see if we get to that.
You crack right through it.
Yep. Just gently enough so that I don't want to break the meat.
Uh-oh, man.
We'll use some super glue.
So I actually do it in a different way too. I first do break this off. I try to possibly leave the meat on there.
With a hard shell lobster like that, that meat is packed in there so tight it's tough to get it out.
And then I actually do go ahead with the knife, and I like to just come right.
Some
Such
bit
an
of
easy way,
fences
right?
that
You just
is.
get that big piece, and then all you do is shimmy it right out of there. There's so much tough meat with the hard shell. So the knuckle meat is actually one of my favorite bites in a lobster. It's always so sweet, right? And
Sweet
tender.
and tender.
Jinx! Jinx again! So I would say there's 2 more parts to the lobster. First, you have kind of that body, which you can really dive into. I don't think we need to because it gets kind of messy.
No, I don't bother.
However, there's tons of meat inside there, and if you really want to get your fingers and go through there, I always love it. And that last part is the bite, right?
Yep, we got 8 of them. Best way to get the meat out of the leg, bite it right out from the end all the way
Thank
back.
you.
Here at the plant, we literally have leg rollers. We produce 2,000 pounds of leg meat every single day.
And they're just these tiny little specks of leg, but they can have plenty of meat in them.
I'm gonna be blatantly honest with you here with the leg roller. I've never rolled a leg myself in my entire life. When I get through the claws and the tail, I just start over with another lobster. Most people, if you're trying to roll a leg out, you can take anything round and you see that?
Pops right out the end. It's insane.
Beautiful leg.
In one piece, too. Now that we've gotten the majority of the meat out of this lobster, it's time to lay it all out and see what we've accomplished. We've just shown you how to take out every last piece of meat in a lobster, which I would argue is very important, especially if you're in Maine. I want to give you a massive thank you for taking us out on the boat. I'm sorry, man, it can be a bit of a
And I got
liability.
that too.
You did an amazing job on the boat.
Watch out, watch out, watch out! One last reminder to toss a like on the video, and with that, over and out.
fast this can go.
Find out.
That didn't feel real.
As if he died
Demand
right
more
there.
for your hair. Meet hair food made with superfoods. For thirsty hair, try the Nourish collection. Shampoo to refresh, conditioning mask to nurture. For touchable body and
Only
nails,
because it's Vanessa,
hair
that's why
food.
I'm not
How will
jumping
you
down.
feed your hair?
And I have no pay as well, so I'm basically risking.
Most of you probably know what a Michelin star restaurant is, or at least what it means. It's the best of the best. Yet the vast majority of us will never ever get to dine at one. Why? It's expensive, super hard to get a reservation, and there just aren't many of them. But today, I'm only gonna eat at Michelin star restaurants for the entire day. Before I go, don't forget to like the video, because this one's gonna be expensive. Let's take a field trip. Before we start, I do want to give you a little rundown of what exactly we should be expecting today. What is a Michelin star restaurant? Most people will never even get to try a 1 Michelin star restaurant, let alone a 3, which we're going to be trying later today. And for those that don't know, the Michelin Guide is a series of guidebooks that essentially tell you what the best of the best restaurants are. I do all sorts of things with food, and even I have only eaten at 2 or 3 Michelin star restaurants in my entire life. And today we're eating at them the entire day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Let's head into the first one. The first restaurant here is called Risotto. It's a 1 Michelin star, so we're starting off slower, but we're going to build up very quickly. So let's head in.
Yeah, literally almost died.
Gave me a nice cocktail. It does have booze in it. Is that correct, Manny? That's correct. That is correct. Never too early. Things are going to get wild today. It's really good, actually. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Before we explain, what are both of your names?
Ciao ragazzi, I'm Tarignazzi, this is chef at Risotto.
Ciao, I'm Dominique Lombardo. I'm the executive pastry chef at Risotto.
So here we have our uovo Nino Borghese. What's neat about it is in the center of this raviolo there is an egg yolk. So as you cut it, you're gonna see like a nice egg yolk open up and pour out.
Here we go. I know, it's a lot of pressure, right?
So
Pull it open. But it looks like...
yeah.
Oh, it looks pretty perfect.
That's why I thought there was like no diamonds. That's
So
why.
this is supposed to remind you of sitting on the beautiful streets of Italy, chowing down on prosciutto and focaccia. Perfect. Okay. And then steak and eggs.
So steak and eggs. So here we took an American brunch dish. So we have parmigiano and the scrambled eggs, parmigiano on top of the arugula salad. The hanger steak we actually marinated in balsamic vinegar.
The whole dish is tied together by that parmigiano.
Yes.
And the last one here.
So the staple of Risotto, gnocco fritto. It's fried dough. Use sparkling water in it. It's topped with mortadella, prosciutto, and coppa.
And does the sparkling water get it a little lighter and fluffier? Is that the idea? So I think we should try the egg yolk raviolo as the first dish. We've obviously already cut it open. It's got those white truffles. It's got the mushroom in there. It's got the nice egg sauce on the bottom. The coolest part about that dish right there is that you can actually taste the truffle, but it's not overwhelming. It doesn't punch you in the face. It's perfect. The egg yolk sauce there on the bottom pulls the whole thing together with this really gooey, sticky, and almost kind of creamy sauce for the pasta. It's also just mind-blowingly delicious. And this is the focaccia, the one that's supposed to remind you of sitting on the beautiful Italian streets or countryside. Given that this is our start to the day, this is our 1 Michelin star, but also more of our kind of breakfast brunch type place, we have a steak and eggs dish. And I feel like this is the one that I'm most excited to try. It also kind of represents most what we're doing for this first stop of the day. Now, when I eat, I'm a big
Everyone
fan
left
of always
has
taking a
tier 3 gem.
well-rounded bite, which means that you have to have
111.
each part perfectly layered on that
Me,
single bite that
green,
you
yellow.
take. Well, let's try it out. What I love about this dish is that the chef treated all 3 components very differently, but also the attention to detail is super, super evident. That steak obviously has all that balsamic in there, while the eggs are really fluffy, creamy with that Parmesan cheese in there, and then the salad just kind of brings it all together with that super light.
Don't be too confident.
This final dish, the specialty of the restaurant, it's the most simple, but often those are the best bites you'll ever have.
Matsumit's correct.
It's very simple, a fried dough ball with a little bit of prosciutto or meat on top. Nothing. No. This is one of those bites that you have to eat right out of the deep fryer. It's got to be piping hot and delicious. That dough is soft and chewy, and it's really cool that you can bite into this light, fluffy shell. You're going to have to give me a few minutes to finish all this food. This concludes our 1 Michelin star stop, and we're ready to head to
What?
the next one. To me, it's already evident why a place like this would get a 1 star over a traditional restaurant. But what will actually separate a 1 from a 2 from a 3? Let's go find
So
out.
I don't lose anything. Come on, bro. I want to at least get silver to this video.
Gabriel Kuther. I think I'm saying the name right, but we'll find out in a few minutes. And I have a little fun fact for you as we head to the next restaurant. Believe it or not, the Michelin Guide was actually founded by the actual Michelin tire company. You know, the big fluffy looking Michelin man. Back when this was founded in the early 1900s, there were only a couple hundred cars in all of France. And this Michelin Guide was given to people for free in hopes that more people would buy cars. So the goal wasn't actually primarily to guide people to good food. Instead, it was to get them to use as many tires as possible to make these brothers as much money as they could make. Just thought I'd toss a little factoid on you for today. He just subscribed. Yeah. Give me a fist bump. This is our 2 Michelin star restaurant, Gabriel Kuther. I think we were missing the R back in the card. Right here, we've got the 2 Michelin stars. Let's go inside and see the real plaque. You can already tell this is going to be an incredible meal. I'm salivating. So we've reached the 2 Michelin star restaurant. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but 1 Michelin star means it's high quality cooking and worth a stop. When you step up to 2 Michelin stars, it means it's excellent food, excellent cooking, but worth a detour. As in, if you're in New York City and have to travel halfway across the city to get there, you should do it. We're now going to watch the most commonly ordered drink here be made.
The name of this cocktail is Blood of the Dragon.
Blood of the Dragon? Yeah. We are letting the chef go ahead and give us whatever he wants, so I'm super excited to see what he brings out. The whole menu, or wine menu at least, is on the iPad. Look at this. I mean, you could drink for years in this place.
Check out this Verbo.
Oh, man.
Michael, they're your cousins.
Look at me.
It might be hit on this bit, so if I record video, my Wi-Fi might be not good.
Almost 100 full pages of different alcoholic choices here. Cheers. Oh, wow. So the drink is a beer cocktail. Actually, I've never heard that term before. Made with some sort of liqueur that's illegal, technically. Then you see the bread here, which you can already tell it's just very fancy bread. It comes in a beautiful presentation. What I'm extremely excited for are these little arancini bites, that Italian dish with some saffron in there, and then some caviar on top. Start off with the bread. Very, very hot and flaky on the outside, almost like a croissant. I'm gonna dip it into this light and foamy mixture here. Whenever I get to a restaurant and they've taken the time to make the bread really good, I know I'm in for a treat for the whole meal. I am always in for a good bite of caviar. The best thing I can say about that bite right there is that it's extremely well balanced. The caviar on top is fatty, has that salt. You have that really citrusy gel that's holding it up, and the arancini is warm and crispy. Even though it's very small, this dish almost hits on every single little thing you want in a good bite of food. Let's move on to the next course.
So we have 2 different wines paired for the entrees here. The first wine, 2011, Leon Bayer, Comte d'Egglesheim. This is a very special soil. This Riesling is grown on Musselkart. It's a very hard soil. You get a very well-built, very structured style of Riesling here. This is a very classic producer, Hugel. This is their Pinot Noir, Grossilao or Grand Cru, 2012. Hugel is one of the most important producers, and they make a beautiful example of Pinot Noir in Alsace. Here we have a red grape that ripens very well and produce a really complex style.
Bit,
Foie Gras can often be a controversial ingredient, though it's probably one of my favorite flavors and foods out there. And you'll see it a lot in French cuisine. I'll take a nice small sliver
and
put
a
a little
baby
bit of
and a chicken
pistachio on there. Like I said, well-rounded bites. Foie Gras is extremely fatty, super flavorful, but doesn't have too aggressive of a liver flavor. And this dish does a really good job of giving us some of those acidic notes to balance out the fattiness of that foie gras. This is a very unique presentation of a waffle. While I'm not exactly sure whether that's supposed to pair with the foie gras, this here's actually one of my favorite bites from the day. It reminds me a ton of pizzelle, those Italian anise-flavored cookies. And it has this really cool smoked jam on the inside that brings it all together. I'm always very big into crudos, and this one looks extremely creative with the fermented faro, which I've never had before, those light, crispy-looking cucumbers, and the fatty toro fish. There's also a yuzu sauce over the top, which is one of my favorite all-time ingredients in cooking. Honestly, because of the creativity behind this dish right here, I would say this is probably my favorite bite of the day so far. So do you happen to know why the silverware is tilted
one way. Yeah, they're ergonomic for right-handed guests. We also have a separate set for left-handed guests as well. We'll pay attention to the guests when they eat their first few bites. We'll pay attention and see what hand they use, and then we'll make a little note and adjust accordingly.
Like I said, the attention to detail in a Michelin star restaurant is sort of what sets different places apart. Thank you.
Oh no, it's a barbarian.
First, let's go ahead and try the steak.
I can't get iron. I'm not gonna camp for 10 years, dude. Camping is the most boring thing about this game.
Or just sad and bland. But this is a true flavor explosion when you eat it. And once again, it has all those individual elements that taste so incredible.
The goal of this game is to get bit and kill, not camping gyms for 10 years.
Wow, you like it? That's like not what I expected. I like it.
Try.
It's really
He tried.
It's super simple. The figs are obviously super fresh. You can lightly taste the olive oil in there, but it's just soft, creamy.
This is a cocktail that we wanted to share with you. It's something that is truly connected to the chef and his cookbook. So this is inspired by a Hemingway Daiquiri, which is traditionally rum, grapefruits, maraschino,
Oh my
cherry
god, they
liqueur,
keep taking
and
my
wine.
kills.
It's really inspired by Chef Poiter's Memories of Summer.
Here is all the mise en place for the dessert. And everything is done to order then, you know.
Explain to people what mise en place is.
Mise en place is any step that you can do ahead to be prepared when the order comes in so you can put things together.
It means everything in its place, correct?
Everything in its place, calculated, so that when service is happening, every single move is calculated, timely, and the food is up to par and perfect, you know. With crispiness and all that. Beyond perfect.
Why?
Trying to achieve, you know.
They are literally targeting.
I know you have the cookbook. Can you talk to me about it? It's beautiful.
This is a project that people are asking me to write a cookbook, and I always put it off. And then this time I accepted to do it because I was prompted to dig into my roots. They wanted me to talk about Alsace.
At least I killed him,
I
did
know some chefs don't want to.
At least he doesn't have a knife right now.
Do you put everything in here that you're doing in the kitchen, or is it sort of a spin on
the waffle recipe is in here. A recipe is only a recipe, and then comes technique, and then comes mastering the technique.
Who did I kill? The yellow or
So
green?
it's not because you have the recipe that you're going to be the best cook in the world. There are many recipes out there, and it's not because somebody's trying to do it.
I'm gonna camp in red, Jen.
Everything you see in this place has a story.
So what I like about what you're doing
Move
is
your
you're
leg.
creating a lot of dishes based on your childhood experiences and your life.
And that's the kind of town I grew up in, you know. In a very small town, 1,000 people living in the town. I grew up on a farm. All the traditional Alsatian recipes that I used to grow up with, that my mother made, and then in the back we have restaurant recipes.
I hope you won't mind if I steal one.
No, you're welcome. Take one. Yes,
I won't steal any recipe.
you can do that. No worries. I want people to enjoy them. I want people to get interested in cooking for themselves, get interested in the product. What we went through with the pandemic taught people that all those little things that we took for granted are actually very important, and that sitting out on the table with good food is so important.
Damn, green has the least kill, but is dominating.
We're late to the 3 Michelin star meal, which is not a meal you want to be late to, so let's go. We have arrived at our 3 Michelin star restaurant. I gotta put on my jacket for this one, obviously. And the definition of a 3 Michelin star restaurant is exceptional cuisine that's worth a special journey. Meaning they highly suggest you travel even long distances to eat there. Let's go. The last place I'd expect to find a 3 Michelin star restaurant is inside a mall. So we just sat down, we were greeted by a nice glass of champagne. The tasting menu here is 9 different
But I
courses.
want to
I
count
feel like
it.
9 is going to be that perfect sweet spot where we get a few small bites, some larger courses in the middle, and some nice desserts to finish it off. This little holder right here is one of the heaviest weights that I've ever felt in this size. It's also in a beautiful wrapping here. And honestly, this reminds me of an ice cream cone. I think this is going to be a
I'm doing
common
more
theme
damage.
throughout the night, but
Just
despite
so
being
that.
very tiny, that
Oh my god, dude!
outside
If only I hit him
light and buttery
one
and
more time
crispy,
before.
and the salmon on the inside is so smooth and creamy and delicious.
We need
Just the
tier
smell of this
2.
lobster stock alone is incredible. And then when you actually taste the broth, it's so incredibly thick and complex. And they've clearly really allowed the stock in this broth to have the time to develop all that flavor. I actually have a theory about restaurants this good. The better the restaurant, the quieter the kitchen often is. And that's because the staff is so well trained and so prepared for each dinner service that they're really quiet when it comes time to actually cook everything. And I feel like that same thing is reflected in the dining room.
Bruh. Let me at least get a stone sword.
This is, of course, caviar, served with a mother of pearl spoon, the classic thing that you want to eat caviar with. If somebody ever gives you caviar with a mother of pearl spoon, that means they know what they're doing. That is crazy. This isn't some sort of bowl that looks like an eggshell, this is an actual egg. Beautiful egg custard. This is one of those bites that you taste once and you never, ever, ever forget.
Lift up your plate. Lift it up. Lift it up.
This is why people don't take me to fancy things.
Inside that, I'll camp. As for right now,
Wow. That whole
I need
mousse right there
kills.
is one of my 5 favorite ingredients.
4 kills is not enough. You'll never know how much kills I have. But all you know is that I'm a Avery. Come fight me.
Cider, the most decadent of ingredients you can get anywhere. And we're also right in the middle of white truffle season. And of all the bites we've had today, this is the one I'm most excited to dive into. Again, it's small. What you're looking at right here is essentially the best little thing of risotto you could ever imagine. The rice is cooked perfectly. It's suspended in a very creamy sauce. Definitely with a little bit of Parmesan and then white truffle and brown butter. What I can say about this right away is that it is very good. Oh my god. It's like chewing through a sponge.
Different chocolates. Every single one of them is a hand craft. Of course, thanks to our pastry department that we actually have in the back.
Alright, I'm just gonna try the horchata one on camera. I'm a big fan of horchata. I was hoping the chocolate would actually taste precisely like the actual drink, and it does. It's a fun way to end the meal too.
I'm so proud of my
This is gonna
teammates.
put a dent in the bank account.
We don't communicate with each other because there's luckily no microphone.
But you can wave at each other.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
He's one of our sous chefs who's expediting service tonight.
What's
No,
up?
sometimes, right? Uh-oh, what happened?
What happened? I don't know.
I think it's only maybe a bottle, which
There's a per se goes.
the problem is on this are the expensive bottles, and if something obviously moves and comes down, there's a little bit of problem.
Oh my god.
Because these are the, the Bordeaux and like the Burgundy white
What?
bottles
Oh my
from
gosh.
2000 up.
How much do you think this room is worth in wine?
A lot, yeah, because there's only one bottle alone with $53,000 only.
How many restaurants in the world have done anything like that?
Not too many.
So that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you eat at Michelin-starred restaurants for the entire day. We started at a 1-star, we went to lunch at a 2-star, and we just finished up at a 3-star. In fact, the 3-star experience took 4.5 hours alone. We'll be heading back to the studio to give a little debrief on the entire experience, but I will say that that was probably the best day of food of my entire life. And you can probably understand why. I'll see you back at home. I got back home at 2:30 in the morning, and that was easily one of the craziest videos we've done yet. I'm a little tired, but my stomach is happy and full. To boil it down for you, here's what I think. The key difference between a Michelin-starred restaurant and any regular place you might go dine at this evening is one simple thing: attention to detail. That was made clear across all of our dining experiences yesterday. And the attention to detail, whether it was in the food or in the service itself, was incredible, all across the board. Well, that was a lot of fun. I think I'm going to take a break from Michelin-starred restaurants for a while. Once again, don't forget to toss a like on the video and subscribe, because you're not going to want to miss that next field trip.
Try Toodaloo snacks. I literally can't find anything wrong with them right down to the packaging. This one's called Slow Your Roll.
This might just be our craziest video yet, because, well, today we spent quite a lot of money. But let me start from the beginning. Who here likes charcuterie boards? Don't raise your hand. What do you... Well, I know I do, and today we're taking charcuterie boards to the next level. I don't know why, but I feel like online I've seen charcuterie board this, charcuterie board that, charcuterie. People call them all sorts of stuff, but I want to really take a deep dive today into charcuterie boards. It all depends on how seriously you want to take them, and if you know me, you know that I take food very seriously. But I really wanted to think outside the box today. So we're gonna do something really fun. We're gonna start out simple by making a $1 charcuterie board. That's right. $1. Now come on, please don't come after me if you calculate it out to the exact gram and it's $1.01. But you get the idea. We are going to try to nail that $1 board. And after that, can you guess what's going to happen? Once you've completed that, we are going to add a 0, which will move us on up to a $10 charcuterie board. And you know, you can start getting a little bit more creative there. But again, you're pretty limited because you're dealing with a lot of pretty expensive things in a charcuterie board. Think cheese, meat, nice crackers, maybe some berries or fresh fruit. Things can get pricey. But can you guess what's going to happen next? We're going to add another 0 and do a $100 charcuterie board. And yeah, I know, that might sound crazy. And it's going to give us some good flexibility to really start putting in some unique ingredients. But we are not stopping there. Because we're going to add another 0 after that and go to a $1,000 charcuterie board. Boom. Yes, it sounds crazy, but we're going to do it. We have to. Because don't you want to know, what can a $1,000 charcuterie board look like? I mean, come on, the possibilities are probably endless. But here's the kicker. We're not going to stop there. Can you guess what we're going to do? Yeah, we're going to add another 0. Because today, we're making a $10,000 charcuterie board. Okay, so I know that sounds crazy, but to start, let's go do that $1 charcuterie board. Because out of all of them, maybe besides the $10,000 one, that's actually the one I'm most excited about. Let's head on over to 7-Eleven. So we are off to 7-Eleven right now, and I just can't think of any better place to get that $1 charcuterie board. Now, I don't know what we're gonna find there, I really don't. But I just feel like if there's gonna be a place we can build a decent charcuterie board, it's gonna be there. They got the cheapest slice of pizza around, and it's actually not a terribly bad slice. You know, it's not great, but it's okay. But the reality is that 7-Eleven has pretty much everything. So let's go see what we can find. You guys, we made it. 7-Eleven has arrived. So the key here is gonna be finding stuff that we could actually use in a charcuterie board. So what exactly the heck can we use from 7-Eleven? Look at all those noodles. I'm a big noodle guy myself. Huge noodle guy right here. I think we maybe go with some sliced pepper jack. This is gonna go on our $10 charcuterie board though. This is a little more pricey, okay? We're looking for lower budget stuff for the $1 board. For our $1 board, this is an absolute must. Jack's Links, baby. This is it. All right, so now we need saltines, which obviously these are our low budget cracker right here, okay? This is our $1 cracker. Also, I have something really special I want to show you with Oreos. It's one of the coolest hacks I've ever learned, so I'm going to bring these back too. Last thing we need is our meat for the $1 board. I think we're going to take it out of a Lunchable. I just feel like that's a pro move right there. This is a good spread right here, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the one.
This is a fully empty saltine bar?
Yeah.
They sent you this?
Yeah.
You better have gotten a refund.
I don't know. Maybe I will.
Huge success there at 7-Eleven. Now we are back to the kitchen to make all these boards. Well, boom! Now, as you can see, we got some pretty great things that we're going to start out on that first board with. There's nothing like some good pepper jack cheese, a couple of premium saltines. Now, what I will say is that guy in that store, what a sweet guy. We didn't catch this on video, but this guy was chilling behind the counter, waiting for people to check out or ask questions. When we asked him about the saltines, he quite literally got up and started running around the corner as if he was doing the Boston Marathon. I personally appreciated the hustle, and I actually told him to stop running. But he also was just obsessed with telling us the story about how they dropped off a box of saltines.
Void is not the best.
Fully sealed, but completely
Yes, fire tree.
This is a fully empty saltine bar? Yeah. So I guess just know that there's a really good story behind these saltines. Now, honestly, I wasn't going to do a $1 charcuterie board without some beef jerky, and I almost went for a Slim Jim, but Jack's Links was just a little step up, and I felt like we could splurge a little bit. As long as we can work it into the budget, right? And last but not least, something we actually couldn't find at 7-Eleven, but found somewhere else, we got Easy Cheese. Because isn't this what dreams are made of? You might have seen me pick up some Oreos at 7-Eleven, so to start off, I got a little trick here for you. To start, we're going to take out one of our Oreos and put just a little bit of that Easy Cheese on top. I know this is fully unrelated to a charcuterie board, but believe it or not, this tastes exactly like a cheese. I know, it sounds completely insane, but it's actually shockingly good. Well, let's get focused again and start building this $1 board. Let's break down that $1 board. Now, we probably all love Lunchables back in the day, and I just figured we could get some good stuff out of this thing right here. But I haven't had a Capri Sun in so long. Out of here, I think the real main thing we're going to get is these pieces of pepperoni that are really only a couple cents and can help us get a nice, beefy, meaty foundation. So let's just lay a few of those down on our cutting board in a nice little formation. Keep in mind, all these boards are going to be really nice and abstract, so here's a nice start. Now, second is we're going to go ahead and open up our cheese stick and jerky, which, let's face it, aren't the best quality in the world. And we can't use all of it because we'll go over budget here. So I'm going to cut some really nice bits of this beef here, which will give another texture to our meat section. And then I'll cut the cheese into nice little cubes that you can pick up and eat by hand. But again, not all of it, because we can't go over budget here. That's looking pretty good to me. Next, of course, our salt. When you think about it, saltines are pretty much the cheapest cracker out there. So to hit that dollar mark, I'm going to lay a few of these out across the board, and we're not going to break the bank. Let's just get these in a really nice formation right around our board to make things start looking a little bit pretty. Now our charcuterie board is starting to look professional. But what is a charcuterie board without a few olives? Especially ones that you can't even get out of the can. That's not the nicest looking selection of olives I've ever seen, but it's going to do the job. I'm going to take my tweezers and lay just a few of my olives out on the board here, because each individual one we put down is probably a little less than a cent. So again, that's why I couldn't splurge for full olives. They just brought us slightly over budget. Now to finish things off, we want a little bit of easy cheese to really make it nice and easy to dip those crackers. I'll put a nice little mound on my board, and maybe just do a couple of those to spice things up a little bit. Whenever you're plating, always remember, plate in odd numbers. So I'm happy with those 3 splotches of easy cheese, which bring us to right around $1. Take a look at this board before we dive in. Alright, well, to dive in, here's what I would do. I'd probably take one of these saltines, put a little bit of easy cheese on there, and spread it nice and around so that we get that evenly covered. Then I'd add a few olives, just for a little bit of extra salt here, with 1 or 2 cubes of cheese. I'd top it off with a nice piece of pepperoni, and I'd call it a day. Keep in mind, you don't want to be one of those people that takes all of one certain thing and puts them on your cracker, and then there's none of that left in the charcuterie. That's basic, simple charcuterie etiquette. Let's give this a try. I'm not going to recommend the $1 charcuterie board to anybody out there. It simply just isn't good. But you know what is good is the saltines challenge. And hey, I just want to show you these superpowers, so here we go. I can eat these for days. Oh, it's not even difficult. I can just eat them for days. Now for our $10 charcuterie board, we're going to step it up a little bit so you can see we're kind of upping our cracker game here, right? Now, I know, Ritz don't seem like the most luxurious cracker out there, but I actually don't think they're all that bad. They have a lot of those qualities that you'd be looking for in a cracker. They got just the right amount of salt, they're light and airy while also very crispy and have that crunch every time, and perhaps most importantly when it comes to cheese, they're the perfect vehicle for putting a nice piece of cheese on. I'm not really sure why they have those holes through them, but I kind of dig it. So to start, let's lay down our Ritz crackers. We can definitely give it a little pizzazz and make a few little shapes with our cracker layers here. Why not keep things interesting, right? Next, we're going to go with a fresh stack of saltines because, again, I know saltines are a pretty dry cracker, but they're cost effective and can really buff up this charcuterie board if we want them to. Watch me give it a little pizzazz again. Now, of course, our cheese. I'm sure you all remember these really cute wax-shaped cheese things, and I know that I was absolutely obsessed with them during my childhood, and I always thought it was cool that they opened up and looked like Pac-Man. But let's toss down a few of these things. And we can even make a little tower and leave some in the packaging if we want to. Sometimes that's kind of nice in a charcuterie board. Now the next thing we're going to do is open up a couple olives from a bag, because we've graduated from those pre-cut half olives, and we're now moving on to the big ones.
You get shot.
That's right, we got whole olives. So let's add a couple of those nice and spaced out on our charcuterie. As you can see, we've rearranged just a tad bit here to make things a little bit nicer. But now it's time for a little bit of our pepper jack cheese. Now cheese is where things can start to get really expensive really fast, so we can't go overboard with the cheese here. But to make things look nice, I'm going to start layering it out on my board, just nice and evenly so that you can easily grab a piece and make a nice cracker out of it. And again, maybe get a little bit of a stack there, some nice height to buff things up a little bit, right? Now of course, not everyone loves pepper jack, so I'm also going to do a little bit of regular cheese, which will be cut from this nice beautiful block of cheddar. You'll notice that as our charcuterie boards step up in value, they'll get closer and closer to the source. Hence, this nice block of cheese that hasn't been cut yet. But I want to start making it more rustic. So I'm going to break off nice clumps of this cheese, laying those across my board and getting things really nice and beautiful. You want your guests to see the charcuterie board and be blown away immediately. So make sure you don't hold back when it comes to being creative. But alas, this wouldn't be complete without a nice little spread, because we have enough budget now to play around with a bit of a jam. And that's why I have this nice fig spread that evidently has been already dug into and eaten from the store. The $10 charcuterie board, what do you expect? Maybe it's just melted? Yeah, you think? And last but not least, to finish off that $10, we can't forget to put a little bit of meat in here, though we can't afford too much because we really balled down on the cheese there. So I have these nice little petite salamis, which I absolutely love, and I'm going to lay them right in the middle of my board to finish this $10 charcuterie board. Take a little bit of our fig spread, because why not? And then I'll take a nice little chunk off of my cheddar cheese, place that right in the middle. This time I'm going to eat my olive on the side, because it didn't taste so good last time with the crackers. And I think that's going to complete it. First, just a little nibble of my Baby Bell cheese. As to really get in the spirit of the $10 charcuterie board, followed of course by a nice rich cracker, very crispy and buttery, topped with a little bit of that fig spread and a tad bit of cheddar cheese. It's a hard harmony in my mouth. Now for our $100 charcuterie board, this is when we step things up a little bit. This is when we get more outside the box, we get nicer meats, nicer cheeses. This is when things really can start to get spicy. We graduated now from Ritz and we can move on to Triscuits. You get what I mean. But here's one thing that I want to say. I feel like a good charcuterie board always has some sort of highlight, some sort of centerpiece, let's just say. Well, at least the one I'm about to make is going to. What I have here is a beautiful rabbit and pork cheek terrine from Regalis Foods. You've definitely heard me say their name before, and they send me a lot of my higher end, more unique foods. But my point here is that this is going to be kind of the centerpiece for a $100 charcuterie board. Yes, this bad boy right here is going to run you about 15 bucks, which is a nice chunk, but not too much of the overall price of your charcuterie board. So of course, to start, I'm just going to gently break this baby open and rest it right down in the center of my board. To start, I'm going to go with some dry aged Iberico pork. It's a chorizo sausage that looks amazing. Chorizo is how it should